Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Mata, Radha Shamsundar, Krishna, Balaram, Bal Gopal, sing everyone. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Kaunitai, Tulsi Marani, Haridas Thakur, Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj and the assembled devotees. So we wanted to continue with the third canto. We're on chapter 12. A quick summary of where we are so far. Parikshit asks Sukadeva Goswami to describe Vidu's activities. Why does he leave Hastinapur after being insulted and travel to the holy places? Vidur meets Uddhav and inquires about the Yadus, Pandavas, and Krishna. Uddhav was feeling great separation from Krishna, who had just departed, and describes some of his transcendental pastimes in Hastinapur, Vrindavan, and Dwarka, explaining that not everyone, even the Yadus, understood his supreme position as Bhagavan. Uddhav describes how the Yadus disappeared and how he met Krishna and Maitreya in Prabhash, where Krishna gave his final instructions and tells Uddhav he will go to Vaikuntha at the end of his life. Uddhav recalls the pastimes of Krishna to Vidur, who makes further inquiries, but Uddhava refers him to Maitreya Rishi due to Vaishnav etiquette. Right. Maitreya Rishi is older and Rishi for a long time. Vidur was overwhelmed by Krishna's remembrance of him at the time of his returning to Golok. He went to Maitreya. Vidur asks many questions to Maitreya about the creation of the material world, how the Lord incarnates, etc. Maitreya, being pleased, begins to describe the process of creation, how Vishnu awakens Mayadevi and brings into play the 23 elements with their respective devatas, who pray to the Lord for empowerment as they cannot work together. Then Vishnu enters into the elements, which transforms into the universal form, Vishwarup, which in turn divides into various Shaktis, and then demigods, planets, Varnas manifest. Vidur asks about his doubts, which Maitreya dispels, and then Vidur asks lots of further questions. Maitreya explains his disciplic succession, and then about Brahma's birth, meditation, self-realization, and darshan of Narayan and Vaikuntha. Brahma surrenders to the Lord, offering various wonderful prayers and begging for protection. The Lord blesses him to do his service of creation and become his devotee. Maitreya describes creation of the planets, the 3 types of annihilation, 10 types of creation, and time, including Brahma's time. This is what we ended with yesterday. So now, chapter 12, creation of the Kumaras and others. After describing time, Maitreya explains Brahma's creations. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity as the eternal servant of the Lord, it is impossible for him to live in material conditions of life. So if we remembered that we are eternal servants of God, spirit souls, we would actually struggle to live in this world, because we would understand this world is temporary, not for us. So Brahma creates 5 features of ignorance: self-deception, forgetfulness, possessiveness, anger, sense of death. Feeling dissatisfied with seeing the sinful nature of his creation, Brahma purified his mind by meditation and created the 4 Kumaras. These are the mind, the sons who have come from the mind of Brahma, who are elevated sages. When they refuse his order to create progeny, Brahma becomes angry, although he tries to control it. So they were self-realized souls from the moment they appeared, and Brahma asked them to increase the progeny But they refused. They refused to enter into Grahastha ashram. And that made Brahma very angry. From Brahma's anger in his mind, Rudra is born from his eyebrows. The boy, anxious but obedient, is given his names. 11 places of residence: the heart, senses, air of life, sky, air, water, fire, earth, sun, moon, and austerity, without bhakti. And 11 wives. He and his famous progeny attempt universal destruction. They were very angry as well, because they were born from Brahma's anger. Brahma became afraid. He stops them and asks Rudra to perform penance. So this is the initial birth of Rudra in this world, who is an expansion of Shiva. These are the 4 Kumaras. 10 great sages: Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulatsya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, Vashisht, Daksha, and Narad appear from Brahma's body. Brahma also generates qualities such as religion, irreligion, death, and lust. Kardam Muni appeared from Brahma's shadow. So we'll see he's a very important Muni in this canto. After Brahma becomes attracted to his own daughter, his saintly sons beg him to control himself. Brahma becomes ashamed, gives up his body, which turns into a dangerous fog in darkness. The 4 Vedas appear from Brahma's mouth, along with the ingredients of yajna, fire sacrifice. The sciences, including Ayurveda, arts and histories, Upavedas, also appear, and he creates the Puranas and the Itihasas from his mouth. Education, charity, penance, and truth are the 4 legs of religion. And to learn this, there are 4 orders of life with different classification of castes according to vocation. Brahma creates all these in systematic order. He also creates modes of expression, such as poetry, the alphabet, and music. Since the population had not sufficiently increased, Brahma was astonished, and while contemplating Swambhu Manu and Satarupa were generated from his body. They produced 2 boys, Priyavrat and Uttanpad, and 3 girls, Akuti, Devhuti, and Prashuti. From the marriages of the girls to Brahma's sons, Akuti to the sage Ruchi, Devhuti to the sage Kardam, so the same Kardam we talked about just earlier, Prashuti to Daksha. The world is populated. So these are the progenitors. The Manu is the father of mankind. From him came 2 boys, 3 girls, and then the world started to become populated. Chapter 13, appearance of Lord Varaha. Vidur inquired from Maitreyi Muni about Swayambhu Manu, who is a great devotee of the Lord. Maitreya, being pleased, explained that after appearing, Manu and his wife approached Brahma to ask how they can serve him. Pleased with his son, Brahma asked him to beget children, rule the world, and worship the Lord through yajna. Manu should protect the living entities and thus please the Lord. Brahma explains the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, Lord Krishna, is the form to accept all results of sacrifice. If he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interest. Good instruction for us. Somehow all our activities need to be performed somehow to satisfy the Lord. Manu asks his father to help lift the earth from the ocean. So Manu and the living entities would have a place to live. She had become exploited and left her orbit. While contemplating how to do this, from Brahma's nostril appeared Lord Varaha, the Lord's boar form. Initially, he was the size of a thumb. Within a moment, he grew to the size of a great elephant. Brahma was struck with wonder, and to enliven him and the sages, Lord Boar roared like a lion, a mountain. The sages of Janatapa and Satyaloks chanted mantras from the three Vedas. In answer to the prayers of the devotees, Lord Varaha searched for the earth by the sense of smell, imitating the actions of a boar. Then he dove into the ocean. After lifting the earth, appearing splendid with her on his voluminous tusks, following which he killed the demon Hiranyaksh. So it was because of Hiranyaksh the earth was displaced. The sages glorify Lord Varaha as a personified Vedas and describe in detail how the ingredients of sacrifice are situated in his body. They glorify his pastimes of rescuing the earth as he holds up the earth like an elephant holding a lotus in his trunk. The sages feel purified by the water shaken upon them from his body. There is no limit to the Lord's wonderful activities, and anyone who desires to know the limit of the Lord's activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. So we're conditioned by these three modes of material nature. They're very powerful. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. So these are the wonderful prayers of the sages. They always care for living entities like us to become elevated. They're praying on our behalf to the Lord. Having placed the earth on the water, the Lord returned to his abode. By hearing this pastime and letting others hear it, the Lord is pleased and one gains transcendental knowledge. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. Chapter 14. Pregnancy of Diti in the evening. So Vidura, he was amazed. What happened? Because Maitreya just quickly went through this pastime of Varaha. So he was curious to hear why Varaha killed the demon Hiranyaksh whilst rescuing the earth. Maitreya, being pleased with his eagerness, describes the history of the demon's birth. Daksha, one of the Prajapatis, gave 13 of his daughters in marriage to Kashyap Muni. One of them was Diti. She approaches her husband Kashyap at an improper time for sex, so she could conceive children. Her co-wives already had offspring, and she feels poorer than them. The sun was setting, the sage is Kashyap Muni, was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Lord. Kashyap said to his wife, who is his better half, he will satisfy her desire, but she should wait for the auspicious time, which was only one muhurta away. Because if she didn't do that, he will get criticized. Others will reproach him. Ghosts and their master, Lord Shiva, move about at this inauspicious time. Shiva, that's his wife's brother-in-law, Diti's brother, has a brother-in-law, Diti's brother-in-law, has 3 eyes and therefore can see us. Since Shiva is equal to all, don't expect any favors from him. Fools who pamper their bodies are certainly eatable by dogs. They disrespect Shiva. So Kashyap Muni is trying to implore her wife. This is not the right time. But unable to calm Diti, Kashyap submits. Immediately after, Diti feels ashamed, begging her husband to protect the child. Kashyap describes everything was inauspicious. The pine was polluted, the timing was wrong. She neglected his directions. There was apathy towards the devatas, especially Shiva. Kashyap mentions that there will be two sons who will constantly afflict the three worlds with pain, kill innocent and sinless living entities, torture women. They will enrage the great souls and they will be killed by the Supreme Lord. So actually Diti said, it will be very good if the Lord kills my sons, but may they never be killed by a Brahman devotees, even the residents of hell do not favor these souls. So Diti was happy actually. Hey, the Lord is going to kill my sons, but let them not be killed by devotees, because that's really bad news. Because of Diti's sincere repentance, proper deliberation, unflinching faith in the Lord, and respect for Shiva and her husband, the son of her son, Prahlad, so the son of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad, would be a very great Mahabhagavad devotee who will please all. Thus, Diti's anxiety is relieved. So this Prahlad, we will hear a lot about Prahlad, one of the greatest personalities ever to exist. So, chapter 15, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah. Description of the kingdom of God. Diti's I can never say this, her offspring, or the babies in the womb, which she keeps in her womb for 100 years. She was really frightened. These two guys are going to be really bad news for the world. So she kept them in the womb for 100 years. Causes the light emanating from the sun and moon to dim. That austerity actually caused the sun and the moon to become dim. The ensuing darkness frightened the demigods who go to Brahma for protection. Brahma describes how his sons, the four Kumaras, enter Vaikuntha, which is as follows. So this is an explanation to the devatas by Brahma, because they will have to go to Lord Vishnu for protection. All the residents are similar in form to Lord Vishnu, engaged in devotional service to the Lord. Vishnu is full of uncontaminated mode of goodness. There's no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes, the Supreme Lord, religious progress for the devotees. There are many forests with desire trees always filled with flowers and fruits all the time. The inhabitants fly in their aeroplanes made of emerald and gold with their wives and consorts. The king of bees hum in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord. There is temporary lull in the singing of the cuckoo, parrot, peacock, etc. to hear the bees. Tulsi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with tulsi leaves. The ladies in Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as this goddess of fortune herself. The goddesses of fortune worship the Lord in their own gardens by offering tulsi leaves. So somebody asks, what is the spiritual world like? This is a little clue of Vaikuntha. So, human life. The human life desired even by Brahma is a perfect platform to develop spiritual consciousness by hearing about Vaikuntha and returning back to God. This is why we are extraordinarily lucky and fortunate. We have this human form of life. Even the devatas, headed by Brahma, is desiring to have human form of life. Especially in this Kali Yuga. Because in this Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this highest form of bhakti, prema bhakti, pure love of Krishna. So we are very lucky. We should take advantage. So Brahma is explaining um, how these two souls come into being. Yes, Priyanjali.
You said that we are very lucky to have this human life. Then there are so many humans in this world from the start. Then when at the starting of the world, it's not like they have come after 1,000,000 years, have they?
No, they came right. They were created early on, yes. That's correct. But in earlier ages, in order to become self-realized, they would have to do a lot of tapasya, a lot of austerity, because their lives were longer. Like in Satyayug, the humans live for 100,000 years. So the way they became God conscious was by meditating for very long periods of time, 10,000 years, 20,000 years, 30,000 years. Very, very tough to attain God consciousness. And even then, the highest that they could achieve was Vaikuntha. They couldn't go beyond Vaikuntha. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's done by coming in this age, he's made the process very easy. Simply chanting Hare Krishna is enough. And he's given the reward of Krishna Bhakti in Golok, which is extremely rare. So that's why we are very lucky, very, very fortunate.
Then
Yes.
how many years could we live in Treta Yuga?
Treta Yuga was 1/10 of that. So 10,000 years.
And Dwapar Yuga?
And Dwapar Yuga, which is the next one, 1,000 years. In Kali Yuga, 100 years is usually the maximum. But most people don't even reach 100.
So in Satyug, most people don't reach like the maximum amount they would get up to.
Not sure, maybe. But they would have very long lives. A maximum is 100,000 years.
So it means every yuga, the time gets shorter.
Yes, a lot shorter. A lot shorter. And every yuga is a different way of becoming God conscious. So in Satya Yuga, it is meditation. In Treta Yuga, it was to do fire sacrifices, fire yagya. And because they were very wealthy, they would offer, uh, precious things to the Lord and become perfect in that way. And in Dwapar Yuga, it was deity worship, glorious, opulent deity worship. And in Kali Yuga, we can't really do any of those things. We can't meditate for long. We don't have enough wealth to do proper sacrifice. Deity worship, there is a little bit for our purification, but not to the extent of Dwapar Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, the Lord has made the process very, very easy because He knows in Kali Yuga we're just crazy. So He's basically said, right, all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna and you will get the highest benediction. That's why we are so lucky. Is that okay, Priyanjali?
Yes, Babuji.
Excellent questions. So, what happened? By the strength of Yogamaya, the four Kumaras reached Vaikuntha. They crossed the 6 gates without being astonished. The Kumaras were naked. Although the oldest beings, they looked like 5-year-old boys. They had no concept of ours and theirs. Passing the seventh gate, Jay and Vijay, the gatekeepers, blocked their way. The Kumaras' eyes turned red with anger because of their desire to see the Lord. Now, Vaikuntha is in complete harmony, but these two have fear, the gatekeepers, right? Due to this duality, there must be imposters. This is what the four Kumaras were thinking. And they cursed, the four Kumaras cursed them, the two guards, the doorkeepers. They should fall into the material world where the living entities have three kinds of enemies. There you go. These guys were not very happy, the four Kumaras. They became a little angry. Jane, and they cursed Jane and Vijay. So at that time, the gatekeepers accepted their fault, but begged that they do not forget the Lord. Hearing his servants had offended the Kumaras, the exquisitely beautiful Lord Narayan, attracted by the inner humility of both parties, i.e., both Kumaras and the gatekeepers, he appeared with Lakshmi. And then a description of the Lord's form is given. So this is Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. His face is auspicious, pleasing, most desirable, blessing everyone. His complexion and nose is blackish and prominent nose. His chest is broad. Lakshmi resides there. His waist has a yellow cloth with shining golden girdle. His neck is freshly garlanded, surrounded by bees and necklace of kastuba jewel. His hands, one rests on the shoulder of Garud, the other holding a lotus flower. His cheeks, they enhance the beauty of the earrings which outshine lightning. The head, gem-studded crown. So this is again, somebody asks us, what's God look like? This is a very interesting description of what Lord Narayan looks like. God is described in our holy books, and therefore we are able to make deities or murtis. Smelling the aroma of tulsi leaves offered to his lotus feet, the sages give up their impersonal understanding and viewing the Lord's transcendental form body again and again, they achieve full meditation on the Lord's personal form. So this indicates that the four Kumaras were actually impersonalists. They were thinking that God has no form. But just by smelling the lotus feet, the aroma of tulsi leaves on the lotus feet, they became convinced Lord has a personal form. This is the factual, not imaginary form of the Lord, which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process. It is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. The four Kumaras attained Shanta Bhakti. Shanta Bhakti is that they can observe the Lord's pastimes without getting actively involved. And not pure Dasya Bhakti because of their offense to Jay and Vijay. So they were somewhat little angry with Jay and Vijay. And that is also considered an offense against the devotees of the Lord. So they didn't attain full Dasya Bhakti. They attained Shanta Bhakti. There they are, smelling the lotus feet, amazed. Wow, who is this amazing person? The Kumaras express their understanding that the absolute truth is the Lord's personal feature. Their aspiration is to always be engaged in his service, even if they fall into hell. They understood that the Lord is not manifested to rascals, even though he is seated within the heart of everyone. So the Lord is next to us, but he's not going to manifest himself unless we have some purity and humility. However, persons who are very expert and most intelligent understanding things as they are, engaged in hearing narrations of the auspicious activities and pastimes of the Lord, do not care even for the highest material benediction, namely liberation, or to speak of heavenly kingdom. They offer their respectful obeisances unto the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of God, which was so kindly manifested before them. This supreme eternal form cannot be seen by the unfortunate, less intelligent persons, but they become so much satisfied in their minds and vision to see the Lord. So this is the position of the Kumaras. They became very happy to see the Lord. And so we can stop there. Any questions, any comments?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. In the beginning, just I want to ask you that question. I couldn't quite understand about Kashyap Muni.
Mm.
Yeah, his daughters. Who did they marry? Yeah.
It wasn't Kashi, it was Swambhu Manu.
Yeah.
Swambhu Manu. He had two sons, Uttanpad and Priyavrat, and he had three daughters. Let's just have a quick look. If we can find it. Here. So it was Swambhu Manu and Satarupa. They were born from Lord Brahma, and they produced two boys, Priyavati and Uttanpad, and three girls, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prashuti. So Akuti was married to Ruchi, Devahuti was married to Kardam, and Prashuti to Daksha.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, Daksha.
Yeah, that's right. And then Daksha produced a whole lot of daughters, one of whom, Aditi, no, sorry, Sati. Sati was married to Shiva.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, yeah, I couldn't. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, if there's nothing else, we can stop and we'll continue on Monday.
Prabhuji,
Oh, yeah.
the four Kumaras, are they still around?
Yes. Oh, yeah. The Eternals, they are always roaming around, helping the the living entities like us. Yes. All of these sons of Lord Brahma, they're all around. Narad Muni, we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all around.
I think quite a few of them are Mahajans, aren't they?
Yeah.
The four Kumaras, Kapila.
Yeah, Narad is one of the Mahajans.
Shivji. Yeah.
Shiva. Yeah, correct.
Very
Indeed. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Great souls. Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Priyanjali?
If you say that all of them are around, for example, Narad Muni, then why don't we see them?
Well, see, when Prabhupada, one time he was in America, he was doing kirtan, and he was really absorbed. And then at the end of the kirtan, after everybody had gone, he asked the devotees, "Did you see him?" "Who, Prabhupada?" "Narad Muni. He was standing in the corner." So he can appear, but we have to have that purity to be able to see him. Prabhupada was a pure devotee of the Lord. He could see Narad Muni had come. So they do come. Even Hanuman, when Lord Ram's name is chanted, he is there. But if we are pure enough, we will be able to see them. That purity is very hard to achieve in this age of Kali Yuga, but it's possible. We have to make the effort. So they do appear, but we have to have the purity to be able to see them. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you for your question. Amazing question. Thank you. So, Srimad Bhagavad Purana ki jai.